I have no words for what I saw yesterday. Like, I knew things were bad in Detroit. I knew we were not a playoff contender of any sorts. But my God, that was horrible. That might have been the worst football I've ever seen. And I'm not even joking. I've seen a lot of bad football in the past couple of years. That might have been the worst thing I've ever witnessed. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers played yesterday, kind of. The Lions didn't really play football at all. They just kind of showed up and stood around. But, you know, the Carolina Panthers played football yesterday in Carolina against some people wearing the Detroit Lions uniforms. And, you know, today, like we do every Monday after a Detroit Lions game, I have the takeaways, I have the stats, I have everything you need to know about how this game went down. And, you know, we're just going to get into it because I have a lot of thoughts, I have a lot of takeaways, and I have a lot to say. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video and talking about these Week 11 takeaways and this Week 11 recap. Now, the Detroit Lions traveled to Carolina, kind of. They didn't really go, like, they physically were there, but mentally they were somewhere else. They just didn't seem like they wanted to play yesterday. Now, the Detroit Lions ended up losing in embarrassing fashion, being shut out by the Carolina Panthers for the first time since October 18th of 2009. Stafford was shut out for the first time in his career. It was just all around not a good football game. The Lions ended up losing this one 20-0, which might have been the most depressing thing I've said in the 2020 season, which is tough to do because there's been a lot of bad things that happened this year. So to say that, you know, the most depressing thing about, you know, the most depressing thing about this, you know, this season is that we lost 20-0, like, that's really, really sad. Now, Matthew Stafford on the game was 18 for 33 for 178 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 0 interceptions. Did not turn the ball over apart from that fumble that wasn't really his fault. You know, Stafford was off a little bit yesterday. I wouldn't say he was horrible. He had a couple nice throws, had a couple, you know, poor throws here and there. He was kind of off and on. He was kind of hot and cold at points in the game, but, you know, he didn't play a great football game. Obviously, he had a couple good throws that were dropped by TJ Hockenson. There was one by Adrian Peterson that was dropped that killed momentum. Like, this game was all around not good. Stafford wasn't great, but Stafford also wasn't horrible. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do more with play calling and how he was used and what Darrell Bevell was trying to do versus Carolina that hurt the team more so than Stafford's actual ability to throw the football and Stafford's ability to play quarterback. Now, looking at the rushing attack, Adrian Peterson had 7 carries for 18 yards. Kerryon Johnson had 6 carries for 17 yards. Not very good all around. Just the running game was not there. They didn't really commit to the running game. Didn't really give either running back a lot of chances to make plays, but you know, it just, oh my God, like, this game was bad. This game was just absolutely horrible from every perspective. Any way you look at it, there aren't a lot of positives. The game was really, really rough to watch, and I didn't even end up watching most of the second half because I had other stuff to get done. So I kind of was checking in here and there, but I didn't even watch most of the second half, and I already knew that it was gonna be really bad, and it absolutely was. Looking at the receiving game, Hockenson led all receivers yesterday with 4 receptions for 68 yards. Marvin Jones contributed 4 catches for 51 yards. Kerryon, Marvin Hall, Jamal Agnew, Quintez Cephas, and Jesse James all were involved in the pass game as well. You know, or at least as involved as you can be in a 20-0 shutout, this 20-0 loss. Now, the defense on the day yesterday allowed 258 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown to former XFL quarterback, Mr. P.J. Walker. Good quarterback, but not really a great NFL player. I wasn't expecting a lot from P.J., and he actually showed up and had a pretty good game versus our Lions defense, so that should tell you a lot that a dude that, you know, was undrafted out of college and got cut 12 times from the NFL teams beat us like that and played that well versus our defense. That should tell you a lot about how bad and how poorly our defense played. That should tell you a lot about this matchup. And then, obviously, the Detroit Lions also allowed 116 rushing yards on the day with 1 rushing touchdown from Mike Davis. The only positives from this game really were that both Amani Oruwariye and Desmond Trufant came up with interceptions. They came up with turnovers. Amani's was big in the first quarter. It came, on, I believe, the Carolina Panthers' second or third drive. They were up 7-0. They were driving right after a turnover, and Amani got an interception in the end zone to help swing momentum back a little bit early in that game. Of course, it didn't amount to anything, but that was still a good thing to see from Amani. He got his first interception of the season, and he deserved it. He's been playing so well this season, and he deserves more credit than he gets. And he was actually one of the players that had a pretty solid game for the Detroit Lions. Now, Desmond Trufant also had an interception. I believe it came in the fourth quarter late in the game when it was pretty much out of reach. Still good to see from our, big-time cornerback. Still good to see from our big-time cornerback signing. But, it was kind of a garbage time turnover. It didn't really matter. And obviously, just like Amani's, it didn't have an impact on the outcome of the game. All right, so those were the stats. That's all I had. It was pretty disappointing all around. As I said, the two positives were the 2 turnovers. Amani deserved his. Desmond Trufant made a good catch in the back of the end zone. Didn't amount to anything in the end, but still good to see us trying to get some turnovers. Still good to see us getting those interceptions, even if Trufant's was even if Desmond Trufant's was a miscommunication like I believe it was. But getting into the overall takeaways, because this is where I think things get interesting. My first takeaway and my biggest takeaway is somebody needs to be fired. I can't, dude. I'm so done with this coaching staff. I'm so done with them right now, and I love this team. I will support this team for the rest of the season and for the rest of my life, but my God, somebody needs to get fired. Somebody needs to lose their job today, because if the Lions go a full day on Monday, if the Lions go a full day today without firing a single person, I will be so unbelievably mad, because that performance was the worst thing I've ever seen out of my Lions. Maybe second worst after that New York Jets loss. This Lions team came out soft. They came out flat. They obviously scored 0 points on the game. They lost to an XFL quarterback who was not even the starter of the team. They lost to a backup quarterback with a week of practice and a guy that didn't make the NFL 12 different times. He was cut from 12 different NFL rosters coming out of college, and the Lions lost to that guy. And that's no disrespect to PJ Walker. PJ Walker played great in the XFL. He's proven himself over and over and over again. He is a good player and a good quarterback, but he is also a backup quarterback. He has talent, but he is not a starting NFL quarterback, and the NFL has shown that multiple times. He is a good quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. He is not even a starting caliber quarterback. And while I think he is a good athlete, he is a good quarterback, we should not have lost to PJ Walker and the backups of we should not have lost to a Carolina team without Teddy Bridgewater and without Christian McCaffrey. That should not have happened, and for that, Matt Patricia should be fired and Darrell Bevell should be fired. I don't care what happens Thursday. They're going to stay till Thursday because it's a short week and we play 3 days from now, but I do not care. No matter if we blow the Texans out 50-0, somebody needs to get fired for this loss. Somebody needs to be gone, whether that be Darrell Bevell, whether that be Matt Patricia. Somebody needs to get fired, because that was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen, and I'm embarrassed to be a Lions fan because of that. My second takeaway from the game, the defense wasn't horrible all around. They obviously gave up their big plays. They obviously had their mistakes, but they did force some turnovers. They had 2 interceptions on the game. They had 2 forced fumbles on the game as well, so it wasn't a horrible game for the defense. They had opportunity to create turnover, and they had the opportunity to give the ball back to our offense and give them good chances. Obviously, the offense didn't end up doing that. All those turnovers and all those chances, some of them they capitalized on, some of the chances we did not capitalize on, but no matter what, and it didn't matter what the defense did, because any amount of turnovers they would have lost, because the Lions offense could not score points. It doesn't matter if the defense had the greatest defensive performance of their lives and they gave up 3 points on the day. They would have lost the football game still. They would have lost, because this offense cannot put up points. This offense could not put up points without Kenny Golladay and without DeAndre Swift, which I will talk about next. Overall, there was lapses in judgment, sure. Jeff Okudah got beat on the one. Desmond Trufant was caught out of position a couple of times. We played we had some poor plays on defense, but overall, I mean, holding a Panthers offense to 20 points is not bad. If you hold a defense to 20 points and you get 2 turnovers in the game, that is a defensive performance I will take from the Detroit Lions. If the Detroit Lions hold a team to under 300 passing yards and just over 100 rushing yards with 1 touchdown from both the passing and the run game, and we get 2 turnovers on the game, I fully expect to be winning that football game. That is not a great performance by the defense, but that is a respectable performance from the defense. And I don't care who's playing. If the defense has a game like that where they allow less than 300 passing yards and just over 100 rushing yards, and they get 2 turnovers on the game, we should be winning that game. If the defense allows 20 points in a football game, no matter who we are playing, the Lions should win that football game. If they have a defensive performance like that, not an elite performance, but a good enough performance and a respectable performance, then we should have won that game. We should win a game if we have a defensive performance like that. And again, it wasn't great, but it was respectable and it was good enough that we should have won the game. And the fact that we scored 0 points has me so furious and so mad at this team right now that, I mean, this is going to be a long video and a lot of it is going to be me ranting, because I am so unbelievably mad and so just frustrated that this team had a decent defensive performance. Like, fully, I acknowledge that, the defensive game plan was not bad. The defense overall did not play a horrible game, with respects to obviously who they were playing. But overall, statistically, they did not have a horrible game, forcing 2 turnovers, having the opportunity to get 4 on the day. Like, it was not a great performance by any means, but it was good enough, and the Lions should have definitely won this game. If the offense was even had a spark, if the offense even had a clue of what they were trying to do on the game, we would have won this game. If we had any decent play caller on the field that day for the Lions offense, we likely win that game, because that was obviously not a perfect defensive performance by any means, not even close, but that was good enough, and that should have been good enough for us to win in Carolina. My third takeaway from this game is that the Detroit Lions are way too dependent on a few key players, those key players mainly being Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift. We've seen this offense before be great. We've seen them put up 30 points versus Washington. We've seen them put up big numbers and big points before. We've seen them drive and be successful on offense over and over and over again this season. They're not great at it. They're not a great offensive team. They're not scoring at will like the Kansas City Chiefs, but they've been an efficient offense before. They've driven down the field. They've made some big plays. They've made some big throws and big catches and big runs, and they've had good offensive days. But when they have those good offensive days, it's because Kenny Golladay is there, and it is because DeAndre Swift is there. When one of them goes out, it looks bad, and the offense regresses significantly. But if one of those two is there, if Kenny is there or DeAndre Swift is there, the offense is okay. It can manage. It can rely on one of those two guys. If one of them is down, they can generally rely on the other one to go out and make some plays and keep this team afloat. But if both of them are hurt, if both Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift are missing the game, this offense cannot function, and they can't score points. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. They legitimately and literally cannot score a point if Kenny Golladay or DeAndre Swift are not on the field. If both of them miss the game, that's a GG. We're just going back home because we don't need to play. We can't score points anyway, so there's no point in playing the football game. Like, the Lions are very reliant on Kenny Golladay. They're very reliant on DeAndre Swift to carry them to victories and keep this team afloat, and that is not a sign of a good football team. A good football team can lose a star player and still keep afloat while those players are recovering from injury. A good football team can win despite injury. A good football team can take a number 1 wide receiver, take him out of the roster, and still be successful. We saw the Saints do it this year. They benched Michael Thomas. He wasn't even hurt for a couple of those games. They benched him, and they still won football games. Patrick Mahomes was hurt last year, and the Kansas City Chiefs still had a winning record without him because they are a great football team. Devontae Adams missed games this season because of injury, and the Packers are still the number 1 team in the NFC North right now. They're still the NFC North leaders, and I believe they are the 2nd seed in the NFC right now, even with their star players missing significant time this season. Good teams are not reliant on great players. Great players elevate good teams to be great, but great teams don't need those star players. Those star players are helpful, those star players are great, and they obviously make that team much, much better when they're on the field, but great teams don't need a star player, and the Lions do. The Lions need their stars. The Lions need their Kenny Golladay. They need their DeAndre Swift to be successful, and God forbid both of these players, both DeAndre Swift and Kenny Golladay, are out for Thursday's game. God forbid they're out on Thanksgiving, because if they're out on Thanksgiving, I genuinely think we get shut out 2 weeks in a row because of how poor that offensive performance was. I understand that they are great players, and I understand that Bevell wants to build an offense around these great players, but if you lose one player, your offense should not look significantly worse. And if you lose 2 players, just 2 players out of the 11 starters on the roster, you should still be able to score a point versus the Carolina Panthers defense. Like, there is no excuse for that. The Lions are too dependent on their star players, and that is inexcusable, and that is a sign that Darrell Bevell is not the right player. This coaching staff, especially this offensive coaching staff, isn't preparing these guys good enough, isn't preparing these guys well enough, and until something gets fixed, nothing is going to change, and this team will continue to let us down. You know, I mentioned this earlier in the game, and this is my 4th takeaway. This team did not come to play in Carolina. This team did not show up. They showed up physically, they were on the field, but they were going through the motions 9 plays out of 10. I mean, they did not seem like they had any energy. They did not seem like they had any excitement, no will to rush the passer, no will to hit hard. They had no will on offense. They had no will on defense, and you could just see it. They played flat. They played, very lackadaisical. They were going through the motions, and they just felt like they didn't want to be there. It feels like this Lions team has already given up on the season because, just watching that game, watching the body language from 99% of the roster, they did not want to be on the field with Carolina yesterday. They just didn't want to be out there playing football. And that 1% of players is John Penisini, because John Penisini gave stupid effort. Like, he was working hard. He chased down Philip Walker, who is much lighter and much faster than him. He chased him down to the sideline, and John Penisini gets my game ball. He gets my only game ball. Only game ball I'm giving out today is John Penisini, because he played really well. He played a great game. He gave every ounce of effort he had. And if every single person gave effort like that, and the commentators even said that, that is championship style mentality. That is a championship mentality. That is championship play style right there, is when you give that kind of effort. But it doesn't work when one of your 11 players is giving that kind of effort. If everybody on the Lions worked that hard yesterday as John Penisini was working, we would have won that football game by a lot. It would not have been close, but this team did not give the effort outside of John. So John Penisini, the 6th round draft pick who has everything to prove, he gets my game ball because he gave effort. He did not give up on a play. He never gave up on a play, and he was the best defensive player for us yesterday. So I congratulate him. He had a great game. He gave championship effort, and he deserves better from his teammates. He deserves better from the people surrounding him. But overall, this game was poor because the Lions defense and the Lions offense, the Lions as a team, did not give the effort necessary to win this football game, and I fully stand behind that statement. My last takeaway from this game, no, my second to last takeaway from this game, I have a lot of takeaways this week if you could not tell. My second to last takeaway this week is that this season is over. This season is over. It's done. The Lions can pack their bags. They can go home. They can fire Patricia right now. They can fire Bob Quinn and start scouting this NFL draft, because this season is over. The Lions are a 4-6 football team, and that might not sound bad, right? That means we still have the potential to go 10-6 technically. Technically, we have the ability to still go 10-6, but if you look at our remaining schedule, it does not get easier. Our schedule only gets harder from here on out, and if we can't beat the Carolina Panthers without Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey, there is no way we beat the 3 playoff teams we have left in the Packers, the Titans, and the Buccaneers. There's no way we beat the Bears or the Vikings, who have both beaten us already this season. And to be totally honest, I'm not 100% confident that we can even beat the Texans next week. We legitimately might lose out. We might finish the season 4-12 because, this team has not shown any growth. This team is not showing any will, any passion anymore. They came out in Jacksonville in week 6 with a fire. They came out with a will. They came out with a passion. They came out to fight somebody. They were looking to knock heads off, and they were looking to have that aggression that great defenses have. But just a few weeks later, just a few months later from that Jacksonville game where they had such a dominant performance, they looked defeated. They looked like they've given up on this coaching staff. They look like they've given up on the season. And at this point, they have every right to, because we are not going to win any of those 3 games that we play versus playoff teams and teams that will legitimately make the playoffs with the Packers, the Buccaneers, and the Titans. We likely won't beat the Bears because we never beat the Bears. And even if Trubisky's playing, Trubisky always torches our defense. We've already seen us play Minnesota. That was an ugly, ugly game, and we can't, we just don't beat Minnesota, especially since that game is at home. We're definitely not going to win that game. And then the Texans on Thanksgiving, I hope we win that game. The Lions play great on Thanksgiving generally, but even that, Deshaun Watson just beat the Patriots last week, and Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches to ever live and ever coach. Deshaun Watson is still a threat. The Texans wide receivers are still threats to this team, and I'm not 100% sure we can even win that game. So I think it's more realistic that we lose out, to be totally honest. And I'm not rooting for that, obviously. I'm a Lions fan, and I want to see my team be successful. I want to see my team go 10-6, but I'm being a realist here. That is not going to happen. This Lions team is not good enough to compete with the top dogs of the NFC, and why I'm not cheering for them to lose, the likelihood of them losing out or losing 5 of the next 6 games that they have on the schedule is highly likely, and the odds of Matt Patricia being fired very soon is highly likely, which I will talk about in just a moment. Now, my third and final takeaway from this game, my third and final takeaway from yesterday's performance is that Sheila needs to make a statement and fire somebody. Whether it be Matt Patricia, whether it be Darrell Bevell, whether that be somebody else, whether that be Bob Quinn even, whether that be, anybody in the Lions locker room that's not Braden Coombs, she needs to fire somebody because somebody's not doing their job correctly, and it's not somebody. Almost everybody is not doing their job in the locker room, and she needs to fire somebody to make a statement. She needs to fire somebody and say that average is not good enough anymore. If Sheila truly wants to build a good team, if she truly wants to have a great organization to stand behind and a great franchise to lead into the future, she needs to make a statement now more than ever and let everybody know, the players, the coaches, the management, the GM, the team president, they need to let everybody know. Sheila needs to let everybody know that average is not acceptable anymore. If Sheila wants to build a great franchise and have a great organization to run and stand behind, she needs to make a statement and fire somebody now, like yesterday. She needs to fire somebody, whether that be the head coach, whether that be a coordinator, whether that be Bob Quinn. Somebody needs to lose their job to send a statement. Somebody needs to lose their job so that players and coaches know that Sheila is not goofing around. Sheila is not playing. If she truly wants to build a great team like she said she does, then she needs to make a statement today or in the very near future, and I think that statement is on its way, to be honest. I truly think Sheila does want to build a great team. I think that Sheila Ford-Hamp does want to be great. I think she wants to have a great organization to run, and I think she wants to take this organization that was left to her from her mother and her father and take it somewhere that they were never able to take it before. Looking at her statements, looking at what she says and the way that she's acted so far, I genuinely think that she wants to build a true competitor and a true contender. But for that to happen and for the players and the coaches to get behind it and know she's serious, she has to make a statement and fire somebody. She has to get her stuff together and she has to just buck up. She has to, make that decision and stick with it and just say, what? You're not good enough, Matt. You're not good enough, Bob Quinn. You're not good enough, Darrell Bevell. You're taking my organization and you are burying it farther and farther into the ground every single day. So I can't let that happen anymore. I'm going to have to fire you. Like, Sheila has to make this decision now, and it is going to come, and I think it will come after the Thanksgiving game. With a short week on the line, with the Lions playing in just 3 days versus the Houston Texans, Sheila will not fire anybody with 3 days left because that's not fair to the guy coming in. If we fire Matt Patricia, that's not fair to the intern head coach. If we fire Darrell Bevell, that's not fair to whoever's going to be calling the offense. Like, that is not a fair assessment of a new player or of a new coach or a new coordinator. So we will not fire anybody until after Thanksgiving. This is a short week. Matt Patricia will coach his final game at Ford Field this Thursday versus the Houston Texans. And if they lose, he is fired. And if they win, he's still fired because he should be fired for this game. And I know they're not going to fire him after this game because it's 3 days left of Matt Patricia, 4 days left of Matt Patricia, whatever. But Matt Patricia will be fired after Thanksgiving. I can almost guarantee it because I think Sheila wants to build a winner. I think she wants to build a competitor, and she knows that it's not fair to give somebody 3 days to to come out as an intern coach and coach up this team to win a football game. She knows that's not fair to the intern head coach, so she's going to give Matt Patricia one opportunity. She's going to give him one last game to give everything he's got, to put everything out there on the field, and if he loses this game, it is a wrap on the Matt Patricia era. If this game is even close, it will be a wrap on the Matt Patricia era, and truthfully, and to be totally honest, I am fully behind it at this point, and I think the move is coming. So if you are a Patricia hater, or not even a hater, if you are just somebody who is sick of Patricia and is ready to see him gone, your time is coming. Trust me, your time is coming. my time is coming. Matt Patricia will be fired very, very soon because, it's just a smart thing to do. And Sheila is a smart person, and she will figure it out, and she will get this team right before the end of the season. Mark my words. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. A little bit of a longer video today because I had a lot to say. I had a lot of thoughts about this game, and I have a lot of thoughts about this organization that still haven't been said yet. But with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds out of your day to do so, and it helps the channel out more than you could know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds to like and subscribe, as well as turn on post notifications so that you never miss an upload. I'd be greatly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Thank y'all for watching. Bye, guys.